given me only 10 minutes for my presentation, and then he's going to have a chat with me later on. Looking at the world today, there's so much uncertainties and challenges. And I don't see the situation improving anytime soon, for example, on the Sino-US relations. I think it's only going to get worse. And then we have high inflation, high interest rate, low growth, and then the pandemic is not over. Last 2 weeks, I had a very bad flu for almost 10 days. That's never happened to me before. And my daughter had the third COVID with her family. So, things are not really quite the same. And then Hong Kong, our economy is not doing that well. The stock market has crashed. The property market is down. Government deficits. So is there any hope, any optimism? But when I see the opportunities available to us, I get so excited that I wish I'm 20 years younger. First, let me talk about the GBA. What's happening? Okay, I think we don't need to go through the figures, but it's a huge economy, actually ranked number 10, 11th in the world, bigger than Russia, Korea, and Mexico. And it's got everything. We've got technology, manufacturing, international finance center, Hong Kong, one country, two system, bridging between the East and the West. And we have culture and a lot of good food. And the cities in the Greater Bay Area, as you can see, there's big variations there. But every city will offer different opportunities for Hong Kong. And maybe I'll share with you my experience in investing into Shanghai in the property sector. Not that I want to advertise my projects, but I want to show you that at different stages of a city's development, we can do different things and create value. I started my first investment in Shanghai 38 years ago, 85. I invested into a small 3-star hotel, the City Hotel. And then in 94, I invested into my headquarters there on Heiwai. At that time, there was the economy was bad, high inflation, and the property sector was down. But I invested because starting around that time, I was co-hosting the Hong Kong-Shanghai Economic Cooperation Conference every year with the mayor of Shanghai. So I learned about the plans of Shanghai, what they want to do with the city. So I was thinking, okay, if the city is going to have such a bright future, I should start to invest into it. And so I did that in 94. And then in 96, what they call the Rainbow City, it's a huge dilapidated area, Hongzhen Laojie. It's the worst part of Shanghai. And when I agreed to invest, I didn't know. But at that time, the Shanghai government wanted to do what they call the 360 dilapidated housing scheme. So this is part of it. And this, on the right-hand side is the master plan that I have developed, and we've now completed the whole project. And in the center there is the latest addition, what we call the Hall of the Sun. And these are some of the pictures of that Hall of the Sun. It was just opened not long ago, and it's becoming very popular. And then in 97, the famous Xintiandi, the old city redevelopment at that time. So I was offered to do this project, 52 hectares, right in the heart of Tang. And the government didn't even want to have a deposit from me. So we just signed a 6-page agreement on this redevelopment. And it's worked out so well, and I've created so much value out of this place. And the Xintiandi, of course, you all know. And these are some of the pictures of the Xintiandi area, yes. And then in 2003, the city wanted to enhance the growth through what they call science and education, 科教新市. And so at that time, I was discussing with the mayor. I said, what do you mean by that? He said, well, why don't you give us some ideas? So I came back to Hong Kong, and at that time, I was just stepped down from the chairmanship of the Hong Kong UST Council, and I have a very good relationship with the founding president, Jia Wei-wu, and he was born in Shanghai. So he said, okay, Vincent, let's work on a paper for the government. So he said, Shanghai should have something similar to the Silicon Valley and the West Bank of Paris to create that innovation. So we came up with a scheme, what we call now the Knowledge and Innovation Center development. It's completed now, and these are the projects there. And these are I even created a University Avenue. And it's now rated as one of the top 10 streets in Shanghai. And then recently, we opened this, what they call the panellists. It's the urban village concept that now the central government wants to promote amongst the big cities in China. And ours is the first one. And now it's become such a hit that every day, average daily visitors is 76,000. And we've created a water town in the city. It's only 5 minutes from Hongqiao. So what I'm trying to say is that when we invest into a city, we're investing into the future. So in the Greater Bay Area, the cities all offer different opportunities for us. So it's up to us to decide what and how we can do in that city. We're investing into the future, not today. And we just have to look at the potential of the city and go and create value, right? Just now, Bernard was saying we're a super connector. We're more than a super connector. We are actually a super value creator. All these projects that I've done, I created a lot of value, not just for myself, it's for the city as well. It's helping the city's growth and development. I know I'm running out of time here, so I better rush. Belt and Road, again, it's very exciting, right? I believe this is going to be the most important international cooperation platform for the world in this 21st century. But the project is so huge, and in the past 10 years, it's been mainly invested by China, the state-owned enterprises. And if you look at the figures there, right, I've got two sets of it. I would call them guesstimates from OECD and ADB, right? For the whole world, the infrastructure requirement will be 35 trillion US per annum. And for the Asia Development Bank estimate for Asia and Pacific, infrastructure investment will be 1.7 trillion US per annum. And if you look at how much China has invested in the past 10 years, 240 billion only. And the contracts signed, 2 trillion for the 10 years, and actual turnover of Chinese contractors only 1.3 trillion. So compared to the figures that would be required, it's just a drop in the ocean. So China simply cannot afford to be investing and building on its own for the BRI. We've got to be able to make use of private sector money and resources from the world. And Hong Kong can become that investment hub for the BRI projects. We've got all the expertise. We know how to do with the infrastructure. We know how to raise the funds. We can tap onto all the necessary resources. And then we have 45 years of experience of also helping China reform and develop. So we know what needs to be done. We can invest into manufacturing. We can invest into properties in all these countries. Of course, you cannot do all these 150 countries together. You've got to pick and choose. So it's where, what, when. And that's an entrepreneur's task. Making the right decision on the timing, where, and how. Maybe I'll just stop there because I think Heiwai is looking at me.
Thank you, Mr. Lo. Please stay on stage. May we invite Professor Heiwai Tang to join you for a short fireside chat?
Yeah.
Do we chat like this, or how do we do it? I guess we can hold the microphone. Or maybe I ask questions and you use the middle one. I really just have two questions. Vincent was so kind because it was well, it's actually more fun to have an interaction rather than someone standing on the stage to talk for half an hour. So I prepared two questions to continue your presentation. The first one is GBA. So I know a lot of companies in Hong Kong have been investing in GBA, trying to do business there, but it's a very competitive environment. I am not so sure about whether Hong Kong companies have the knowledge, have the networks, have the expertise to penetrate into the GBA. But obviously, you have been very successful, right? Shanghai, Xintiandi, and many other projects. So could you share with us your knowledge and experience about, how to do very well in a city that is, not something that, Hong Kong people are usually familiar with?
Yeah. I think what you need to do is that the title of my presentation is Entrepreneur's View. So you've got to look at it from an entrepreneur's point of view and say, what and how can I tackle this market? And I think when we look at the market with potential, we need to send our best people there. And in Shanghai, I was doing it myself, right? All those projects, I make the decision myself. I found the projects myself. So I think Hong Kong is full of entrepreneurs here, and they just need to go and work on it themselves and decide what they want to do and make it happen. I think the biggest problem is that a lot of big companies will just send, we'll just send some of our people to just go and try and do tackle the market and just follow what we have done successfully in Hong Kong. But that's not good enough. Like you say, the cities are very competitive, and there's a lot of capable people locally. And I think also importantly, when we invest into a city, I think we've got to localize. I have two CEOs in China. They're all local people. And I have very few Hong Kong employees on the mainland. So I think we just need to take that long-term view and make sure that we know the market and we are investing into the future. So we've got to look ahead and say, what would this city need and require, and what value can we bring?
Great. Thank you. My second question is about the Belt and Road countries. I agree with you totally that the first stage of Belt and Road has been state SOE-driven investment in infrastructure projects. Right now, the roads, the railroads, the ports have been built. They need to be used by companies and by people. So, to facilitate the second stage of the Belt and Road, could you tell us a bit more specifically about how Hong Kong firms, or maybe even the Hong Kong government, can try to finish this very important project of the Chinese government?
Heiwai, it won't be finished. This will continue to be on the drawing board for a long, long time yet. Right? Look at Hong Kong. In the past 70 years, we've been changing and developing. Right? It's such a small place, but we're still struggling to build more flats. Right? This is just an example that along the Belt and Road, we cannot be so ambitious that we're going to be trying to tackle all 150 countries in one go. I think we just have to pick the right choices. I would say at this point, I would start with the ASEAN countries, right? They need some infrastructure work, but generally, the economy is doing reasonably well, And so we should go there and say, okay, can we make use of the cheaper labor resources there, for example? And how do we build the cluster? Because right now, with the China Plus One or deglobalization that's going on, I think a lot of companies are finding it hard to try and relocate the manufacturing facilities from China. So we've got to look ahead and say, okay, how do we build those clusters? And maybe the government, take for example, in the Belt and not just Belt and Road, but I mean in the GBA, I think the Hong Kong government should really look into the 9 cities and say, what are the requirements of that city? They should try and bring that information back to Hong Kong. The big companies don't require the government's help. They can do it themselves. But the small and medium-sized company, they don't have the resources to go and try and study the market, understand the market, and the government should try and open the door for them.
This is very nice. So I can see a new role for Hong Kong, right? Which is to help medium-sized companies in mainland China, in GBA, to get to those new markets. So could you tell us?
And then it's not just for Hong Kong companies. Hong Kong can connect with the rest of the world.
Right.
We've been doing that for over a century, right? And in all the projects that I was working on, I don't just use Hong Kong expertise. I tap from around the world, all right? Architects from US, from Europe. If they're good at it, we should bring them in. And that's what the Hong Kong value creator role should be, and the connector role should be. Right? We're not just focused on the Hong Kong resources. We should be looking at around the world and how we can package investment together and make the projects economically and viable and bankable.
Let me ask you the last question. It may put you in a difficult position. What is lacking in Hong Kong that we haven't been successful in doing what you had in mind, right? Helping companies to go into new markets, really playing a role as the hub in the Belt and Road countries.
I think, like I was suggesting, the government should do more to promote this. And then I think, sadly, I think our younger generations, they've been having life too easy. I think they need to shape up and say, there's opportunities out there, let's go and get it, right? When I was starting to do my projects in China, I was spending almost 3/4 of my time up there. At first, I have to drink Mao as well, and that was tough. And then I have to come up with an excuse. My doctor said I can't drink, right? But these are things that you have to really hands-on and get a feel for yourself, right? In doing projects in Shanghai, I've got to have that feel that this is what the market needs, right? Like when I was investing in the Xintiandi, it was just in '97 when there was a financial crisis in around the world, right? And at that time, I wanted to do the project and finish it before the 2001, middle of the year. And I went to the banks. I said, well, I have this project. And they did not say no to me, but they did not also give me the money. So I have to come up with the money myself and say, okay, I'll build this first. So you need entrepreneurs who are willing to take the risk and say, I believe in this, I'll do it.
So we need a new generation of risk-taking entrepreneurs who love Mao Tai, so that Hong Kong will be successful and can be transformed into a new vibrant city. And thank you so much, Vincent, and this is really wonderful sharing that you provided. The markets are out there, it's up to us to grab them. Thank you, Vincent.
Thank you, Mr. Lo and Professor Tang. Now it's time for some real food. Bon appetit and happy networking. Our afternoon